right, and welcome back. Thanks a lot for keeping it K24 this morning. Welcome to our social hour. My name is Shiko Kaitani. As always, thanks a lot for the feedback that we receive through our social media platforms. Remember, you can catch us as at K24 TV. And remember, our WhatsApp number is pretty active. It will be scrolling at the bottom of your screen. And should you wish to call us, yes, those numbers will also be at the bottom of your screen. Now, today's children and teens are growing up immersed in digital media and exposed to media in all forms. Well, media can influence how children and teens feel, learn, think, and of course behave. Let's put into context the Warunge case where Lawrence Warunga brutally killed 4 family members and a worker because he felt unappreciated, so to speak. His idea on how to kill? The popular British spy thriller Killing Eve. But for a group of people who are constantly connected, how do we get our children to disconnect from the TV, computers, smartphones, and other screens from time to time and just connect with their communities, but most importantly, connect with themselves? Today, joining me for this particular conversation is mental health conversationalist, Brian Sakwa. Asante sana for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and one Evelyn Kasina, who is a family IT consultant, will be joining us. She is the founder of EveMeNet, and as we work on that particular connection where Evelyn will be joining us for this conversation, start talking to us about your experiences and your child's use, by the way, of social media especially, and their devices. What have you also put in place just to regulate things at home? But Brian, let me start off with you. And as we talk about the overuse of digital media in your opinion, what do you think our children are at risk of by just constantly being connected?
First of all, thank you so much for the invitation. I'm really excited.
Yeah.
You also look good.
Thank you.
All right, so technology has taken over the world by storm, and it's now being used as a tool to educate and entertain at the same time. And you know, everything that comes with it means that it's home friendly. So it's easily accessible for children. And since it's being used in homes and education and in schools, children have to actually go with the flow of everything that comes with it. Now, when it comes to the risks and some of the let's say some of the dangers that come with prolonged use of internet, so much use of internet, that can result to cyberbullying, like some of the mental health issues that include cyberbullying, social anxiety. Children can develop social anxiety, and that means keeping up with some of the trends on social media, the people they interact with on social media. It could be a celebrity. Your child could be following a certain celebrity star. Well, as we're speaking right now, there's a current lawsuit going on in America of this Disney star by name Jojo Siwas. She has this online game that actually has sexually suggestive content. But the board game is age 6+. And it's really dangerous and disgusting, you know, to include sexualization for children content. And when it comes to mental health for children, it's really different from how mental health for an adult, and separating mental health for a kid. Okay.
Let's see if we can get a hold of Evelyn now. She is joining us via Skype. Evelyn, if you can hear me, good morning and thanks for joining us.
To you too. Thank you for having me.
All right, so as a family IT consultant, I'm sure you see this constantly. Explain to us the frustrations that parents have with children and their never-ending use of the devices that are in the house. What are these frustrations that you hear of?
I think one of the things that I constantly deal with is the excessive screen time, where children are not able to be given enough activities that are off the screen. And I know parents at some point, they do need to do their work. They have so many things they need to do. So they find themselves almost babysitting their children with a screen. Now that becomes their norm. At a time like this where the children now need to get out of you know, the excessive screen time and get back to their learning, it becomes a little bit difficult because their learning is not as entertaining as the screen time was for them.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I'm finding that parents are really, really struggling with is the balance.
Yeah.
And you do realize, like right now, many schools are also opting for a blended kind of learning, which means there is, yes, face-to-face, and sometimes they have to use technology. Right. So when that technology then is being used for learning as opposed to entertainment, even the children themselves struggle. And when they start struggling and they're not having fun as they used to have fun, like probably now during the COVID lockdown, where school was not really, really an essential thing for them, they become disruptive. Then the parents go back to default. They're like, okay, fine, I'm defeated, I'm done yelling, you go back to your cartooning, let me work. Right. And I think that is one of the things even parents are finding very frustrating, just the withdrawal of the entertainment part of it, or trying to balance the education and the entertainment.
Right. And then let me just ask you also, in terms of the frustration, is it also because parents today ideally don't even understand the technology that's behind it? So you're dealing with all these apps that keep coming up. Just when you've learned how to master Facebook and Instagram, then you hear there's something called TikTok that your kid is on constantly. Then before you know it, there'll be another version of TikTok that comes up. So the idea is, how do you manage something that you don't even understand yourself?
One of the things I've been telling the parents who have that particular frustration is make your children your teachers. Yeah. Because one of the reality is, even for me who is in tech, I honestly cannot keep up with the apps. Yeah. So you can imagine somebody who just maybe knows Facebook and they don't know beyond WhatsApp and Facebook. That is a very frustrated lot of parents. Yeah. I keep encouraging them to make their children learners, so that at least the children are able to tell them, oh, this came up, it's doing this and this and that, so that also from a parental view, you're able to start guiding your child on who are you talking to on these platforms, what kind of content are you sending out on this platform, so that the conversation kind of changes. Yeah. Because the reality is, you and I cannot keep up with the apps. I think you have seen the way people are discussing about the new privacy settings of WhatsApp, and then now people are coming up with so many alternatives. I'm like, whoa, I didn't even know some of these things existed. So that it is the same thing when parents are trying to keep up with what is happening with the kind of apps that are constantly coming up, and especially social apps. So we need to be able to make our children educate us more. When something comes up, they would know it faster than us anyway. So the conversation changes from, I know this is here, but what are you doing with it? What kind of security provisions have you put? Right. What conversations are you having, and who are you talking to? Okay. Then we can try and see how we can manage that conversation.
Right. And just coming back to you, Brian, discussing the increased risks of depression due to, of course, internet usage. I think also one thing is that as parents, perhaps you may not be aware about the level of depression that children are getting into. And obviously, as a mental health conversationalist, this is something that you do see.
Yeah. It's not easy. I mean, it's easier to tell if an adult has a certain alteration in their character, like your partner when they return from home, from work. Now, you realize today they're chatting, they're so excited, replying to messages on their phone. It's unusual as compared to their normal behavior. But for a kid, most of the time, it's not easy to detect unless you sit them down and have a conversation with them and ask, perhaps they've just returned home from school. Inquire, how are you feeling? How are you feeling today? How did you experience school today? And perhaps, that means having that mutual and emotional safety environment with your kids, having a relationship with your kids, because that is the only way to access, let's say, a mental health problem from a child or a young mind. As compared to an adult, it's easier to tell you're feeling anxious, you're anxiety, there's a little bit of too much anxiety in you, or you withdraw from a lot of things. Kids, most of the time, they just keep quiet. So it's not easy to tell as compared to an adult.
And they're quite withdrawn.
And sometimes kids tend to actually, especially when you're an abusive parent, and abusive, I mean, when they experience you as being, what is the word? oppressive, controlling, and sometimes disruptive and dismissive, they tend to withdraw from you, and you just see them playing with books. They start locking themselves in their rooms. They watch cartoons. They avoid you because you're dismissive and sometimes abusive. And that makes them to actually hold it to themselves. So it's not easy.
And the internet is all they have. So they feel like
internet is all they have.
Yeah, that is their form of solace, like going online and then now engaging with other people.
But I feel like sometimes as parents, we should be cautious of some of the what is it called? Some of the apps that they are accessing. Are they child friendly? And especially for kids below the age of 12 years, they should not own smartphones.
Wow, that is a tough one. I'm sure there's someone who is saying, "What? Easier said than done."
12 years, nope. A smartphone is
no smartphone. No. But do you advocate for at least some sort of a device?
Yeah, a device at least to call home when the parent is away from home, or just to get in contact. But if at all they gotta have a smartphone, then disable the internet, because they will access everything.
Wow.
And mind you, children are so smart, than even adults.
Okay, let's rope in our audience at this particular time. And remember, we're asking you to share with us your experiences on how you're able to manage devices in your home, how you're able to start up conversations in terms of how to managing, social media use, especially right in your home with your children. Have you had the worst of it, or is it working for you? Please talk to us. You never know, some ideas may be able to help other people watching. But that being said, remember, at K24 TV is how you can reach us. I'll be sampling some of our text messages when we are ready, but keep them coming. And if you'd like to call and weigh in on this particular conversation, please do. We'd love to hear from you. Getting back to you, Evelyn, there's something you mentioned earlier on, that even when children now have been forced to study online, you can see a lot of multitasking. One of the effects is on their school performance, I guess it could be quite frustrating because they're not able to concentrate on their schoolwork because it's the same device that's providing them the entertainment.
Well, I'll tell you, Shiko, you and I also struggle with multitasking, and I'll give you a simple scenario. You have almost five windows open doing 5 different things. And maybe all those windows actually are social media. So you have your LinkedIn open, your Facebook, your Twitter, and then your email, your work email, then your private email. And one of the things that we are fond of doing is flipping through each one of them. Of course, by the time you're doing all those things, you are struggling with multitasking, and you cannot put first things first. Just, get into one space, read, and understand what you're doing and finish that project. For children, it is equally the same. The same struggles that we have, they do have them. However, I feel like for them, it is a bit more frustrating because their educational content is so, and this is something that they tell me it's boring. I mean, it's not something that is entertainment. Because if you imagine them playing a game like Roblox, where it is so fast, the adrenaline is really being pumped up very high and very fast. Sometimes they're on social media, they're chatting, and the responses come so instantaneously. When they're online learning, it's like they're regressing. It's because the content is slow, the content is boring, it is not visual, it's not audio, it is just reading. And their concentration actually even just drops a notch. You realize that there's this generation of our children who want things short and snappy. TikTok, for example, a video is very short, it's very snappy, it's very catchy, but it's short and so when you start giving them very long content or something that is not even animated or it's not audio visual, you've lost them completely. And that is one of the things that then they struggle, because they want to be able to try and see, I'm on a Zoom class, can the teacher see me that I'm on a Zoom class, but all my other windows here are open and I'm doing many other things that are more entertaining for me. So I think for us, the biggest question is how can we make their learning more entertaining and more engaging? It could be short. A learning period that is like 30 minutes, it's very engaging, it's very entertaining, and they capture the themes, they capture the content, and they move on to the next thing.
Right.
Because unfortunately, with the introduction of social media, we are losing their concentration because they really don't have it. You can imagine a 6-year-old being told to sit in a class of 90 minutes.
Yeah.
They can barely concentrate for 10 minutes. So imagine the rest of the time, they're fiddling with their things on the desks. Some of them are building castles in the air. They really just want to start doing their own things. So we need to start becoming a bit more practical with what we're giving them, especially for learning, because learning should be what they understand at that particular time. Get them at their best concentration time, which is in the morning when their brains are fresh. Don't keep giving children classes in the afternoon, because for real, you've just lost them completely.
Wow. Okay.
We need to also give them entertaining work and assessments that need activity, and especially for the younger ones. So it is more of the same thing. Even when parents are creating, activities for children, it can't be just a boring thing. It has to be something that really engages them. Another thing that I've realized from teaching children and asking even them for their feedback, they want to be involved in their learning.
Right.
So let us stop assuming we are giving them things that we think they like. Involve them.
Involve them.
Mathematical concept, but just ask them, how would you want to engage in this concept, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then let them give you the ideas, incorporate the ideas so that at least they feel they're part of the process. And that is something that I think for us adults, for us in the education system, for us who are parents also doing homeschooling, we need to shift our minds into trying to engage our children more and making them part of the process. And I've seen it work very well, especially with discipline, where when you sit with your children and you create a schedule, for instance, when you involve them, they own it.
Okay.
They own it.
Good point.
And find that even when you, as a parent, are misbehaving, your children are your accountability to be like, no, you created this rule. Why are you not adhering to it?
Okay.
I mean, you can't be telling us to do one thing and then you're not following it.
Absolutely.
And I think that is the best thing that we need to start adapting at this particular point.
All right. Some really good points you've brought up, Eve, and it also just takes us being proactive, like you had said, in our children's learning. But even as we continue this conversation, remember we are asking for your feedback and your thoughts as we discuss media impact on our children and our teens. I don't know if my director has any text messages. Yes, no? Okay, fine. So as they're working on that, we're going to be taking a short commercial break in just a moment. As we get to that break, Brian, let's talk about the influence media has on behavior, especially risky behavior today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Look at the celebrity stars that are being promoted in music videos. For kids or even teenagers, they always want to associate themselves with anything that's fashionable, trendy. So they tend to identify with the stars. Well, risky behavior. In the recent, it's still making headlines. The Ruinge incident. Apparently, it's allegedly said that he watched the killing. Is it Murdering Eve?
Yes.
Yes. The inspiration came from watching the film. You can imagine the content that our kids are consuming and getting inspiration from without the parents, without the guardians' awareness. So that means. As parents, well, I'm not one yet. As a parent, you should be aware of what your kid is consuming. If it's on television, ensure that you have you lock some certain programs that could be, let's say, dangerous or mind corruptible. They can corrupt the character and the behavior of the kids. You can ensure that you even watch first, pre-watch the whole episode. Characterization is very important. For example. This animation series, Ben 10. You remember when Ben 10 came from back in the days? Every kid wanted the Ben 10 bag. When it was back to school, every kid has a Ben 10 t-shirt, Ben 10 bag. But what matters is, what is that character selling? Ask your kid, if you're following Ben 10, the way they call them daddy, mommy, why do you love Ben 10? And do you want to be like Ben 10? And especially, for example, as a parent, there's usually what is your moral, or let's say what is your, what is the word? It's escaping me. What is the, is it cultural value? What are the standards you've set for your kids? Like your value system, what is the value system you've set for your kids? Do you want them to be like the kids in the movie, or you want them to be like how you want your kids to be? Of course, there's no script to parenting. So it's organic. It's a journey. You learn from your kid.
And I suppose, you know, when you see kids acting out in a specific way, obviously they probably pick that up from whatever source they did.
Yep.
Now, the question here is, before you start attacking the child and punishing the child, do you think it's high time, even as parents or as guardians, that you ask, where is this stemming from?
Yes, exactly, because you can imagine you come home and you come back home in the morning from work and your kid is smashing, singing those lyrics. I want to shoot you with a gun. I want to. Yeah, you should ask them, where did you access this? Because as a parent, of course, in your house, there should be safety. If you have a parent, a lock, the parental lock key and the PG guideline in your house for access, especially even the internet and even the television programs, that means perhaps they could be accessing it from the neighbor. So ensure that they have the right friends, your kid is interacting with the right people, and that stems down to your value system that you have set. So if you are clear on what you expect from your kid, they won't go astray. Yep.
All right, taking a look at WhatsApp before we go to a quick commercial break, let's just sample at least one text message there that's coming in already. Someone says, been thinking out loud, do the government ban TV shows like Killing Eve, for example? Are they really sure that it's the program that do corrupt the minds of the youth? We grew up watching soap operas, but no one has lived in ranches or kuva boots na big belts, watched WWE, but nobody went ahead to pick tombstones to fight. Watch Nigerian movies, but we haven't used black magic. Watch the shenanigans of Shakila, but really, I can't go naked on live IG shows. The problem is not what we consume, but our mental state. This country, this youth need therapy. Our mental state isn't okay. All right. You've got to comment on that one, Brian. You have to comment because they do have a point.
Yep.
What is it going to do, or what value does it do? You know, more or less cutting down on the content, or is it the individual's mental state? So even if, for example, if we're talking about Lawrence Warunga, this is even beyond the Killing Eve. What did the show have to do with it? You know?
Yes. When you're experiencing mental health problems, there's usually triggers. There's usually triggers, and some of the concepts that include, let's say, depression. And I define depression as an end product of prolonged trauma, anger issues, and unresolved past issues. So you're trying to find ways of expressing your pain. And some people resort to evil ways or not so good, credible ways. And others even resort to using drugs. So I would say that that's a result of the experience of having gone through a lot of traumas and trying to find a way of being yourself. But you know, there's literally no way that. Yani, there's no space of how you can find the emotional safety to express yourself. So the only thing you can do is go on Instagram Live and
act out.
Yeah, act out.
Wow. What a conversation we're having this morning. If you haven't joined in, well, please do. We're talking about the media impact on our children as well as teenagers today. I mean, taking a look at what's been happening, all the killings, for example, the level, or at least the cases of depression and mental health illness that we hear about today, especially amongst the youth. Where is it all stemming from? And how exactly is media contributing to the situation that we do have at hand? Start talking to us if you haven't at K24 TV is how you can reach us. Remember our WhatsApp number at the bottom of your screen. We'll be back with more with Brian Sakwa as well as Evelyn Kasina in just a bit. What were